regardless of whether or not I voted for you, you work for the community, aka you work for me. I have the right to speak to you. I have the right to have a meeting with you. It is not an if question, it is a when question.
God's day to you guys. It's me, Frederick White, your host of Black Robe Podcast. And if you tuned in to Black Robe Podcast before, then you know we have a lively intergenerational dialogue that highlights the perspectives, opinions, and stories of the Black African descent communities. Here at IBJ, our purpose is to pursue equity and justice for all. And our mission is to be an advocate for fairness and equity, to be an accelerator of the justice system's transformation, and to be an accomplice to credible social justice influencers and community they serve. Today, I have the great opportunity to interview one of our community organizers, George Conzuelo. Hey, George, how you doing?
Hello, Frederick. Good. Thank you so much for having me here. It's such a pleasure.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you. And George, I know I said community organizer, but if you would please let us know the roles you play and the hats that you wear in our community, it'll be great information for us.
Thank you so much again. I have a variety of things that I do here in Pierce County. I serve on a handful of boards and commissions. I'm currently working 2 jobs, both in social work. One, because it's expanding my knowledge of the world, and also because the cost of living is increasing. So that definitely is a necessity nowadays, I feel like. And I'm active in the political sphere with local legislative districts and democratic organizations.
George, you've been deeply involved with FamilyPromise as a case manager, and now you're running a youth-focused campaign for Pierce County Council. I'm sorry. Can you briefly introduce yourself and walk us through how these roles connect?
Absolutely. And honestly, if you would have asked me earlier this year if I was planning on running, that answer would have been different from my current reality. But I'm so thankful to have been on this journey and to do the work that I'm currently doing. But in merging those two things, my campaign work being youth focused and the work that I do in FamilyPromise, is that it brings together lived experience. In my opinion, lived experience is such a big thing. Bringing your stories, your experiences and things that you've had throughout your life and bringing them into the conversation brings a different perspective and a valid perspective. It's something that a lot of cultures have done for centuries. It is an importance that includes intergenerational leadership. And so being able to not only expand myself and what I'm learning, but also collaborate with others and directly hear from them what their stories are is really powerful. And so I think both are a necessity in social work in public service. So bringing not only yourself, but all the folks that you have learned from, grown from, and also stand on the shoulders of, I think is very impactful.
What inspired you to focus on homelessness through FamilyPromise? And what motivated you to shift toward a broader youth empowerment and civic accessibility platform?
Thank you, Frederick. For me, I think one of the biggest things, again, kind of based off lived experience, is that I know where my limitations lie. I know that I don't know everything and I never will. But I think taking that head on and still trying my best to learn from, again, the different voices in my community is super important. And I told myself, I genuinely am lacking in this area, and especially with the issue of homelessness growing and developing here in Pierce County. It's always been here, but even more so in the recent years, it was no longer acceptable for me to have an answer of I don't know. And I took that into action. I was like, okay, I'm at a point where I say I don't know. I want to be at a point where I can actually do something and do some work to help the folks in our community, our neighbors experiencing or even at risk of experiencing homelessness. And that started off with my other job which is working in the foster care sector. And so that kind of had the same kind of catalyst as to why I transitioned kind of from political work into social work. And I think in my opinion, the three pillars of public service and change making is politics, social work, and community organizing. And so I was lacking in one of the pillars, and I just had to do something about it.
Man, that's amazing.
Thank you, thank you. And then being youth focused for my campaign. And civically engaged. That's always been a principle for me. Being a youth, I'm aging out of being a youth. I'm 24, so I think for Pierce County, the age of a young adult, youth/young adult, is up until 25. But in a lot of cases, I am aging out of that experience. And even when you turn 18, I think that's a different experience from when you're under that age. But it's always something that I've held to a high standard, and also just because it's areas that I see where there should be improvement in.
That's awesome, man. I like how you basically you started off in accountability, knowing that you're not perfect, but to live in this is a purpose. It's almost your purpose outweighs the perfection, and that's what it's about. Because it takes people that want to be here that truly make an impact. And we appreciate you for that, George. Really. Thank you for being an impact.
Thank you for your words, Frederick. I appreciate them.
Oh, of course, man. Thank you. Thank you. In your work with FamilyPromise, what's your story or achievement that really illustrates the impact of offering emergency housing, childcare, and financial services together?
Absolutely. Thank you, Frederick. I think one of the big impacts, at least that I see with our organization, and I don't want to call it a success story because it feels like it's just skimming the cream at the top, but I think is important to show that, the org is not only walking the walk, but it's actually going a step further in pushing the values that it has. But having one of our previous clients be a newly elected board member or a newly established board member is really important. It highlights, like I was saying earlier, the lived experience piece. It highlights that, this is not some type of gatekeepy thing where it's like you're only allowed to speak your truth if you're a professional or if you have X, Y, and Z um, uh, criteria to join. And it impacts the rest of the clients that we have. Seeing someone in that level of position is powerful, and seeing that, at a certain point they were in the same shoes that I was. Well, speaking from the client's perspective, that they were in the same shoes that I was, and not only have they passed through that and gotten into a life of stability, but have almost are continuing to grow in that, to be in a position where they're starting to thrive rather than just survive, is really important, and honestly something that I haven't seen in any other space really that I've been in to that extent. And then something on a more kind of day-to-day basis is just the genuine conversations and the genuine thank yous that we receive. I'm not saying I want my flowers. I know I'm doing this work and the clients are in a much more difficult situation. But when you actually just have this conversation, we're getting clients who are coming into or who are in crisis. Obviously, they're frustrated. Obviously, they're scared and nervous and fearful. They're navigating an area that is unknown to them and is oftentimes not the best systemically. I understand where they're coming from. And so when you have that conversation with them and you have things kind of broken down, you're able to slow down, and they're able to see a little bit of clarity in the situation that they're going through. At the end of the calls, hearing thank you, like you guys have been the only people or the first people that have actually given me something or who have been able to, help me with this situation, is again, not that I'm searching for it, but just hearing it in their voice. And I'm like, I feel like there's obviously the situation is a burden. It's difficult. So just being able to just lift that weight a little bit in that situation makes the work worth it. And just continuing to provide is nice to serve my community.
That's amazing. Side question, real fast. I want to know, in those moments where they come and they thank you and they give the appreciation and they give back, does it almost like warm you in a way where you know this is where you're supposed to be?
Absolutely. Thank you, Frederick. Yeah. I mean, it's a situation again where a lot of people deal with kind of, you hear the terms like when you run out of empathy when you're in these spaces.
Sympathy?
Yeah. Withdrawal
Oh,
or drainage or something. And it's like, oh, the stories that you hear and carrying that back out. Like, as long as you have that kind of self-care to figure that out and just show up the next day, um, that that thank you is definitely part of that self-care where it's like, okay, I'm not just leading folks into a wide system for them to navigate on their own. It's like they know that they have someone that they can call. They have someone that they know, at least one person, and it only takes one person to know that, they can call us again 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that they'll have just someone to talk to that has, again, time and time again, whether it's here at FamilyPromise, out in the political area field, talking to voters, or going and speaking with legislators, like just having a conversation can do so much. So yeah, absolutely. I agree. Thank you, Frederick.
oh, that's awesome, man. You seem like you have the spirit to do and to serve, and that's what we need, man. That's really what we need. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Our next question is: the intersection between housing, childcare, and financial stability are complex. How do these how do these needs overlap for the families you serve, and how do you address them holistically?
If we would have had that solution, things would be a lot better. And unfortunately, we live in a world of scarcity in resources, and in a world of competing interests. So we live in a world where both of those have to be taken into consideration. And so you don't know how many times I would want to do more, but there's just either not the funding revenue, or it's an idea that hasn't been created yet. But that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to not just sit through things and be stagnant, but to see what else we can do for folks in our community. But to that, um, you know, it's it with housing, childcare, and financial stability. Those are competing forces. Those are competing necessities. I imagine a table with 3 legs. It's really hard to carry on through life when your table doesn't have one of its legs. So having having one of those be at risk puts your whole life at risk, and it kind of puts it on hold. And we see this with the typical experience where it's like, I work 2 jobs, I have to take care of my kids, I have to put food on the table. I don't have time, I don't have the energy, because I'm so focused on my necessities, to do other things, whether that's be engaged again on the government level, which there's a lot going on, like with the world, or being engaged in things that replenish myself, like hobbies or things of that sort. So it's a big kind of help to have the resource hub with FamilyPromise, to where people can only need one call. A one-stop shop takes out a lot of that energy drainage, where it's like, I've called 5 different numbers, I've called XYZ people, I keep getting told no, or I keep getting told this and that. And it is a reality of the matter that sometimes there is just roadblock after roadblock, but that then turns to me to say,
Mhm.
okay, you've tried this. What else, whether it's, a creative solution or a non-conventional thing, what else is there for me to give you that everyone else has given you, that is different from that. So again, trying to find creative solutions to that um, is really important. And again, it without having those three things filled, without those three buckets filled, it limits the capacity at which you're able to show up. So if we're able to work on those, and they're not cheap. Childcare, very expensive. Financial stability, obviously, also very expensive. So it's like we're just competing in the world of limited resources, constrained resources.
Do you ever find yourself in a position where it's it's almost hard to get someone resources? And when you like find that, like what do you do?
Yeah, and that's also something that I've been very thankful for with working with Family Promise. Um, I tell my campaign members, this is their first time in a campaign space. I tell it like this. I don't sugarcoat things. I bring both the good and the bad because it has the potential, the having that conversation has the potential to change things. So I'm not gonna not say things that I'm seeing on the ground because it hurts somebody's ego. If we can not break, but if we can overlook that ego to where we're able to actually help people and be like, okay, I do have limitations. There are things that we could do better. Then that's how we can move forward. So, um, yeah, seeing it from a provider perspective, as case managers, we don't have a special number. We don't have, like like the red phone from Powerpuff Girls that talks to the mayor directly. Like we don't have any other special like connection to any of these organizations or elected officials. So we are the same as the numbers that our clients are calling, and we see that we face those same issues. So when they're saying, "Hey, I called X, Y, and Z," and there's roadblock after roadblock, we're right there with them because we've also called X, Y, and Z, and we're seeing, and it's like, dang, dude, like, yeah, I totally get it. I see again you being in this position plus these additional barriers and obstacles. I'm right there with you. So having that perspective has been able to have me on the provider level also be able to speak out about it, um, to change the system that we're currently living in because it's not efficient, or maybe again, like a lot of people are saying, maybe it works the way it's supposed to, but I'm not going to let that be the reason why I'm not helping more people.
Man, that's great. I love that. The way to break through the barrier and the roadblock. That's how you do it. You smash right through it, man. That I like that. I like that. I like that. Our next question is what aspects of this work, whether social service or public office, get overlooked, misunderstood by the broader community?
That's a great question, Frederick. I feel like there's a lot of things, but I think one of the big things I'm gonna talk about, again, keeping it real, but cute and collected, is the fact that there's a lot of conversations, and I'm not saying that they're, private or hidden conversations. There's just a lot of conversations that go on in the background that whether due to, I guess, resources, or I don't know if people think that the people on the clients or local community members won't want to hear about it. Like there's a lot of extra work that goes on in the background that the front facing kind of decision doesn't get to hear. I mean, we see that in county council meetings, they have their private sessions, they're hashing out everything. And once they come to the public, they have their decision because they've already hashed it out. But with social services and public service, a lot of people might not forget that piece because it's not widely talked about or emphasized, but there is a lot more work that goes on behind the scenes that goes into the nitty-gritty. It is 4-hour long meetings at the county council building. It is 1 a.m. talks with your team. Not that I've had a family promise because we have limited times, but it is waking up to something and you're like, oh, we have to deal with this situation like inclement weather. It's like, oh, we have negative 30-degree weather and we have people needing a space so that they're not outside freezing, well, what are we going to do? And so you kind of need that. And there are decisions that may go on, behind the scenes, like I say. But I think if we were and that's not the public's fault. I feel like if we were to do a better job of, again, and it goes to just the civic engagement and everything, but have those maybe notes or something be more widely accessible and be like, hey, like we've come to this decision, but there's all this work that happened prior. I think it would fit the puzzle pieces a little bit better and paint the whole picture rather than being like, how did we get to this when we had nothing before?
I definitely agree. Man, you're hitting them right on the head today, man. Thank you. Thank you for digging deep. Thank you for I like the fact that you, like you said, you keep it raw, so you don't sugarcoat things. And I feel like that's what we need to hear, as a community. We need to hear that not everything glitter is gold, like you got to work to get this sometimes,
Right.
So I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. You also speak about lack of accessibility in government spaces.
Yeah.
What specific barriers have you encountered, and how are you working to lower them, especially for youth and other underrepresented groups?
For the most part, I had been doing it by showing up. I had been doing it by trying to organize, and have folks be a little bit more knowledgeable about situations and things of that sort. Um, but I think and it's a difficult, situation to be in, but being the token, and again, this me being real and in my work, being the token voice of X, Y, and Z community, whether that's youth, whether that's for my Latina community, whether that's for, being a renter, being, up in the lower end of AKA not being rich, like, having economics be a thing, I was like, I'm bringing my stories and I'm bringing what I know from folks that I've interacted with. But that can only go so far without bringing folks truly to the table. And I think that that's what I've been doing. I realized that kind of lag and that kind of necessity for me to do more. And that's why I'm really thankful and grateful at the opportunity to be running for an elected position, and to take my campaign not only as a method to kind of push me for the seat that I would like to serve in, but also to use it as a platform. And I think that's something that we oftentimes um, forget, is that wherever we show up, we have a platform. We again are not only there as ourselves, but as a representative of our families, of our communities, um, and there's power to that. But having those actual people be there is even better. And so that's what I've been doing. Um, with an understanding of again, with a baseline of my experiences, hearing the rest, and then being able to take an actionable plan towards something, is what I'm doing with my campaign. I understand with my campaign team, everyone is under the age of 25. And I see that because there is not enough of us young people in the room helping or making the decisions. And so I think not only are we not in those spaces, but there is no track to get to that space. There is no pathway into politics. There is no way for young people to learn more, to do more, unless you're out there not like knocking on every opportunity that you can, which is kind of where my experience comes from. Being in high school, being a 15-year-old sophomore, kind of learning the ropes and also falling and failing, but being able to get back up, like even in the last like 6 years, which is where I've kind of already been in dope since I was 18. In the last 6 years, I've learned and grown so much. But I would have done so on a faster pace, at a faster pace, if there was, again, systemic ways to be involved. and not just this, oh, if you get in, you
Mm,
get in, or if you know somebody, you're getting in. Like, that's not enough. And so that's one is just the accessibility piece. But a big part, an unfortunate reality of politics, and I say this again frankly, is money. We have to grapple with the fact that, not in a negative kind of power hungry way, but politics requires money, whether that's to buy your resources, like for your events, for your lit pieces. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. And also, you want to pay your staff. Like, there's been so many times where I've heard of an opportunity and they're like, join our team. Unfortunately, it is an unpaid internship. And I'm like, I've been working since I was 15. I had to get funds since that age. So yes, I would love this opportunity in theory, but my current reality is asking something different of me, which is the necessity to have financial stability. And so you can't live in a world where they have to combine, or else you're gonna have to pick one or the other. And that's what I've done with my campaign too. My campaign members are paid. Um, I think, and uh, Carol Mitchell has made this an emphasis too with the ACEs program, and I thank her for making that an emphasis as well. Is that, if you're working, if you're investing time in this, you deserve compensation, and so we can't just see our youth as free labor. We can't see our youth as the young energizers of hard work. Like, they deserve to get rewarded for the work that they put in.
that is right. And I agree with that because me being a college student, they tell me to do internships. And there's so many that are like unpaid, 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 unpaid. Work 60 hours a week. I'm like, wait, what? But yes, you're right. You're right. Being able to have that to where, like you said, everybody's paid. It makes you want to be there, especially when it gives you a sense of peeking into that lifestyle, because some people they don't want to do it. They get there and they get, some people don't like speaking in front of people. So once they realize that that's the gist of the game, they rather play the back door. So I like that, you offer that, that you have, people who are willing to, to do the work and get paid to really live that life that you're living. That's amazing, man. Again, you're doing great. You're doing great. And your campaign, right? It emphasizes empowering youth to speak up. And we love that. We love that you want the youth to have a voice. We appreciate you for that. But also, can you share an example of how you've helped young people find a voice in policy and community decisions?
Absolutely. Again, thank you, Frederick. And kind of hopping off the last question, this is something that I've done with youth, and like we were mentioning, underrepresented communities as well. And I'm really thankful, again, to have had my start with politics kind of early on, and to have had the benefit of
Mm.
really supportive folks in leadership help me. And I think that's the big thing, is that we need to have someone who is helping keep the door open for us, not in a condescending way, but someone that is like, here's the opportunity. If you want it, go get it. Um, and that's the barrier that I've been trying to help break. Um, in the reality that um, we can make politics accessible, and also not only politics, we can make the leaders who are in those seats accessible. I think we kind of forget election season comes and goes. Person gets elected, November comes around, and you're like, nope, I don't know what they're doing. I hope they're doing a good job. I voted for them. I didn't vote for them. No clue what they're doing. Regardless, and a lot of people may have this disconnect between politics and public service, but you are a public servant. Regardless of whether or not I voted for you, you work for the community, aka you work for me. I have the right to speak to you. I have the right to have a meeting with you. It is not an if question, it is a when question. And I remind folks these people, although they're in positions of power, are just people. They are not they are not someone who knows everything. They're not a being that is all knowing. They are people who I hope are experts in what they're talking about or have experience in what they're talking about. That's not a requirement in politics, so that's a pitfall in of itself. But they are there to be accessible. They are there to hear your questions, to hear your concerns, to advocate on your behalf. And if they're not doing it, you have the power to make them rethink that with your vote. And so, and I say that in a way that gets me hyped because that's the power that we hold. But in reality, a lot of these folks are that. They're your neighbor, they're your teacher, they're, you know, they have a variety of places where they come from, and they're still that same person. A lot of the folks that I interact with, a lot of the elected officials that I am lucky and thankful to call friends, they're just that. You know, they have their good days, they have their bad days, they go to the grocery store, they live in our community, and so they're just a voice that is supposed to be kind of like this beacon to where we input into it and they're supposed to put it out into the world. And so that's the one thing I tell folks is, you know, if you don't know your local elected official, reach out to them, give their office a call, email them, write them a letter if you want to. People love that. Um, be like, hey, even if you don't have a specific issue, but even more so if you have an issue or an interest where you're like, hey, I have this going on, or I have this idea. I would love to talk to you about it and see what we can do about it. 9 times out of 10, that elected official will be like, sure, let's get you on my calendar. What date works for you? Let's go get coffee. Let's go meet at a library. Let's go get lunch. Like, they are there to be accessible. And once that kind of veil of who they are or who they seem to be breaks, it is so much more easy to see each other at an eye level rather than you having to look up at them. So when that kind of humanity sets back in, it's like, okay, I should have a relationship with them. They should know who I am. And even if they don't know who I am, you know, I can change that.
Oh my gosh, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That it because we look at our officials as someone who, like you said, is all powerful and almighty and the people who should have every ounce of information, but we don't realize that they open the milk refrigerator at the grocery store the same way. And sometimes we should just have the same, empathy.
Right, right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. For this is we're getting close to the end, man. I hope you're ready. I really don't want it to end. I
I
wish we
know,
had
it's
a
been a great
billion more
conversation.
questions. Yes, it's been awesome. But for the listeners who want to get involved, whether as a host, volunteer, or youth advocate, what concrete steps would you recommend they take? And what core message do you hope they leave our conversation with?
That's a great and heavy question. I think the biggest thing that I found with politics, and government and social service, public service, you know, any of these fields, any of these 3 pillars that I've talked about, community engagement / organizing, social work / social services, and politics / government, find what you care about. Find your passion. I know that's cliche, but I think it's something that we talk about, but we don't do often enough. And I tell our young people that all the time too. If you have a North Star, it is a lot easier for you to find the path forward
Mm.
rather than you being like, oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. If your one thing is youth, like me, well, it's not my one thing, but if one of your things is youth and no one else is, and quite frankly, like with my campaign team, I haven't seen this level of emphasis, and I'm again being very transparent. I haven't seen this level of emphasis in youth being involved on a campaigning level, which is, I feel like, a whole different beast in politics from, actually elected actual government work. the whole just campaign trail is something really different, something that you don't really learn about unless you have that experience. Um, like I don't I don't really mind that there's no one else in, like, it matters that it makes me sad that there's no one else in this space. But if I'm the one to pioneer that, if I'm the one to take the first step, I hope that makes other people take steps forward with me. And that's what the experience I've had. Like, I've had a lot of, again, elected officials, a lot of friends be like, I love what you're doing. I love this involvement of youth. And so I hope that this, and I heard this from one of my um, elected official friends. She said, "Youth being in these spaces should not be the exception; it should be the expectation." And I'm stealing that because it's just too good. And so, going back to the
Man,
question, I think if you find something you're passionate about, you will naturally want to do more. You will naturally have an inclination to say, "What else can I do? I see this." Maybe it's not even an issue. Maybe, and I think maybe that's just a bias that I have, or not that I have, but that politics has, is that it's always about something being
mhm,
bad, something needing fixing. Sometimes we just need more of it. Sometimes we need more good. So maybe we already have something good, like our parks. Maybe we have a community center. Love that we have that. Why is this the end? We have something good. Why can't we make something great? And that made me, that was a, that made, why can't we make something even better? Instead of great, why can't we make something even better? So it doesn't always have to be this savior mentality. It can be, again, just something that you care about and you're like, I'm glad that we've made it this far. I think we still have a bit of space to grow. So let's do something about that. And I would also share with people, um, lived experience is gaining more and more traction. And serving, and this is how one of the big ways that I learned how to serve. Serving on your local municipal board or commission is really, really great. It gets the passion that I was saying, the niche that you're interested in, and it allows you to share your voice on what you've experienced, and to make possible recommendations or possible policy changes, whether that's the ET Commission or like me with the Commission on Refugee and Immigrant Affairs, or the Aging and Disability Commission. Like, there's a lot of, and again, well, that's changing. There's a pilot program for young folks to join where they will get a stipend on joining boards and commissions in Pierce County. So if you're a young person and you want to get involved, they're trying to bridge that gap too. But that would be a really great way, or trying to get into uh, an advocacy group for an organization. I'm also on the Pierce County uh, Youth Action Board, which is a group of young people with lived experience of homelessness, and having their voices help Pierce County develop policy around homelessness and the resources there is. And so, find an organization, find a place where you can share your voice, and this will naturally start to develop, to where it becomes
mhm.
something that you're able to, be comfortable with, and just see what the next step is after that. And never do this alone. Always reach out, like I said, not only to elected officials, but there's people in our community that do a lot of great work that don't get the thanks, um, because they don't need it. They're not there for the thanks. But you see them once you start going out into the community. You start seeing similar faces, and you're like, okay, this is someone that I know is about the work, is about the community, and that
Mhm.
shows itself in where you show up.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. I got one last question.
Mhm.
On the days where you feel you just can't, what keeps your motor going? What makes you not want to stop this purpose that you found yourself loving so much?
Thank you, Frederick. And this is very real for me. I keep saying real so much, but it just my truth. And again, maybe sounds corny, but community, knowing that what I do helps people, if it's not me, then who? If it's not us, then who? Because again, it's not individual singular work. If it's not us, then who is a
Mhm.
really big thing for me. It took me 6 years to graduate. I almost dropped out. I failed quite a handful of quarters. And the thing that kept me coming back was not, I could, to be frank, I did not learn what that degree cost me. I learned a lot more from my work on the ground and in the community. Um, but that little piece of plate paper, that diploma, gives me an unfortunate reality again, gives me the ability to go out into the work that I do and say, hey, I know that my experience is important. The people I work with and the people I work alongside know that my experience is important. But to anyone that says no or who questions the work that I do, here's this paper that shows you that I know what I'm doing. And the only reason that I got through that I struggled, that I worked 2 jobs, that I always, worked late, woken up early. Actually, I don't wake up early. That's a lie. I don't sleep. Maybe I just pull an all-nighter because I do frequent that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like nocturnal. Um, but the reason I wake up is because of the community that I serve. Because I know that there's something that I can do, and I'm not saying that I'm special, but I'm saying I am doing things that is going against the current, not because I want to be anti-establishment, not because I want to do things and show out and I want attention on me, but that's what's required. I see other people swimming upstream because the status quo is, easy to say. It is what it is. I don't live life like that because I know there's more that we can do. And so I will say community has been, is, and will always be the reason why I do things.
Thank you, George. Thank you so much for being involved because we can't even spell community without you. So thank you. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Frederick. I really appreciate this opportunity. And you've been great. Thank you so much.
Oh, man. Again, thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for giving us your knowledge and your insight. Thank you for letting us know all the hats you wear, George. It was a pleasure interviewing you, man. Really, it was. And again, man, we hope to have more people like you that are dedicated to the community, dedicated to change, and dedicated to the youth having a voice. That's amazing. So again, I take my hat off to you. 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo! Just for you, man.
Thank you, Frederick. And again, it takes every one of us. So I appreciate you as well and the work that you do with IBJ. Having been part of
thank you.
the ACES cohort, and knowing Carol Mitchell for so long, it's just amazing. And I really appreciate the work that you guys do and the work you continue to do.
Thank you. Yeah, Carol's the best, man. Carol is the best. We really appreciate her. And again, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this experience. Thank you for having the great energy that you have.
This is a connection that I hope to invest in. And it again, if it weren't for this opportunity, I wouldn't have known you. And that's how community works, being out and just knowing different people and gaining learning from them.
And with that being said, this is the Black Robe Podcast. I've been your host, Frederick White, and we give big thanks to George Conzuelo. Thank you again, George, for being on the Black Robe Podcast.
Thank you so much, Frederick. It's been truly a pleasure. And thank you for the work that IBJ does, and for the work that Carol Mitchell does, being able to be part of the ACES cohort and to have known Carol for so long. She's been one of the people that helped me get into this kind of work in this field. And so my utmost gratitude to Carol as always. And thank you for the work that you do with this podcast, and the great work that IBJ continues to do. It means a lot, and it takes all of us together to make change. So thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you again, George. And you have a great 4th. Make sure you be safe. And I'm loving the hat, man. I'm going to have to give me a hat.
Thank
definitely.
you. This is how I'm bringing my full sense of self forward. it's bringing my roots to it.
Hey, I love it, man. I hear banda music playing already.